Okay, that's slightly better. Yes, I think as long as I can see your whole face. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. This is yeah, I'm at school right now. So I'm in a practice room, which is where I spend a lot of time, but yeah.
That's all right. We're catching you in the wild then.
Yep.
um, okay, looks like Christopher, he's our guitar teacher. I don't know if you know Chris Eck, but he said that we look okay on the Facebook feed, so that's good. Um, so I'm just going to go through the questions and we'll chat as we go, and you feel free to add anything that I missed. Uh, but and then people can add comments. And you've been teaching with us for about a month as well. You have a few students.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you as part of the team. So, can you tell us a little bit about your musical background, how you got started, where you went to school?
Yeah. So I started, well, I should start by saying that my parents are both classical musicians by profession. My mom is a violinist and my dad is a cellist and a conductor, and yeah, they both teach, but they wear quite a few hats in the musical community of Iowa City. So that was sort of the context of my upbringing, was, they talking about their gigs, teaching in the home, and that was really where my I would say my education started. Um, and I started piano at the Preucil School of Music at the age of 4,
Okay.
um, with Lori Chrisman. And she was a really awesome influence. And at 8, I started violin lessons. My mom did not teach me, mostly because I think she was worried that, um, the dynamic between parent and child, and then also adding teacher to that, can be a little bit tough. So she I think wisely chose not to. Obviously, she still gave me all sorts of pointers. This is not in tune. Whatever. Why is
Mhm.
your bow doing that? That kind of thing. Um, but I started also with violin at the Preucil School, which is local to Iowa City, and they specialize in Suzuki
Yeah.
training. Um, so I dropped piano when I was around 12, 13 maybe. And
Okay.
I think it was mostly, my love for the violin was quickly growing. And piano, I think it's nicer to listen to a 12-year-old play piano than it is violin, but I think learning the music on piano takes a bit more work, typically. Um,
Okay.
because there are more notes and you spend more time in the sort of slow practice stage. Obviously, slow practice is important for all of us, no matter what we're doing. But
Yeah.
I think I was a bit impatient with that. So I was taking more to the violin and added viola a year later when I was 14.
Okay.
Um,
So you've been playing them both for a pretty good chunk of time.
yes, that's right. And I played in school orchestras all through high school. The Preucil School Symphony or yes, that's right. The Preucil orchestras. Um, yeah, and I also joined choir my sophomore year of high school, so I was really trying to immerse myself. And yeah, uh, through high school, I went to City High here in Iowa City, and then I ended up. Now I'm attending the University of Iowa, and I'm in my last year here now.
Okay. And are you studying performance or education?
Yes, I'm studying performance. My what will go on my degree is violin performance, but I've been taking viola lessons as well the entire time I've been here, and have been doing, I would say, active performance almost equally on both the instruments.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's so true about teaching your children, because I have a 6-year-old. She just started piano, and I'm not really a pianist anyway, but I was like, even just practicing with her sometimes it's like, oh, that's a good thing I'm not teaching her, because just have, another adult that has that patience and that skill set. So that's great. So did you feel like pretty early on, seeing what your parents did as careers, that you wanted to pursue that as well as a career?
Well, they certainly didn't romanticize it. They were very realistic with sort of first of all, what it takes to be a performer, using that as the main income.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to be fair, they were split teaching and performing for the majority of my childhood. Um, and I wouldn't say that I always wanted to do that, but it was sort of like the only thing I had ever known. Because my dad is extremely work minded. Like he's constantly thinking about whatever his current project is. He spends very little time being leisurely, and
Okay.
so sort of to grow up in that environment where it was always about serving the music and serving his students. Um, I think that really influenced the way that I thought about how my career would play out,
Okay.
even if it was mostly subconscious. Yeah. I would say I wanted, the first time I started to really want to do music as my career path was around the middle of high school for me.
Okay.
Um, Before that, it was a consideration, but I didn't really think that I was good enough or that I had what it took, because my parents were pretty realistic with me. They weren't like, "Oh, you'll be fine. Just go for it, and nothing bad can happen." They would say, it's you're not good enough yet, which is true, because no 15-year-old, 14-year-old is understands music well enough to really feel like they can just do that for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, well, I wanted to do music education for a while, actually.
Okay.
But the classroom setting uh, started to seem like it would be really frustrating for me.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not sure exactly why, but at some point, maybe in my senior year, actually, I had written my college essay about wanting to be sort of teaching high school orchestra.
Okay.
Um, and then I sort of realized that I would prefer more performance, right? Because I was looking around at um, my orchestra teachers that I'd had in my life, and I was really inspired by them, and what they did. But I was like, does that mean that I'm not going to really perform my instrument as much? And I think that is what that means, because you're so focused on the kids and the classroom management, and the conducting, right?
Right.
And I didn't think that that was what I wanted to be primary for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of led me along this path. And now, um, what I want ultimately, because I'm not fully formed. I still might have more schooling. We'll see in the future. But what I would appreciate most is a career that involves some chamber music, and then quite a bit of private teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you got to see that. I mean, I think we've been talking about this. I teach at Kirkwood, and we were talking about more and more. It's hard to live just on performing, right? Um, and so it's not always realistic to just only do that. And some people really don't want to teach privately, but if you do and can do it well, then can be a really gratifying addition to the performing, that can be somewhat comfortable, can be a comfortable lifestyle if you enjoy that. So sounds like you're already well on your way. But yes, early in your career, so who knows what could unfold, right?
Yeah, it's all up in the air still.
Yeah.
Sort of just like when I was 16, you never know what may happen next.
So moving into a little bit more about your teaching history, how long have you been teaching? Yeah, we can start with there. How long have you been doing teaching and things?
So my first foray into what you might consider teaching was when I was still a student at the Preucil School. There was a program where you could get paid. I don't remember exactly what it was. Close to a minimum wage amount, which is fair because I was 15 at the time, to be a younger child's practice buddy.
Oh,
And it was not meant to be a role of instruction. And because that child would also have a real teacher, right?
mhm.
But you would go once or twice a week, maybe for 30 minutes or an hour, and practice and guide the practice of the child. And actually, I found a lot of joy in that. This was when I was 14 or 15, I think.
Mhm.
And the girl who I was the practice buddy for is still playing violin, and I actually did perform on stage recently with her, so that was a bit of a full circle moment.
Oh, fun.
But after that, I had a couple, and I'm gonna say students because I my ability as a teacher at that time, I don't think was really sufficient to call them my students. But when I was like 17, I had a couple students. And then in the early years of my college career, when I was 18, 19, I also had a couple, but never for a long period of time. Um, and Yeah, I'm really just starting now what I would consider to be my true teaching career, where I'm sort of I have a plan for my students and am expecting to teach them longer than just a few months or even just a few lessons. So I would say I really began with my longest term student now at the beginning of last fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, start somewhere, and um, that's all a growing process and learning process. And sounds like though you have had good mentorship and skills. I love that with the practice buddy. I think that's so cool, and I bet that would be very very beneficial. And Jessica, yesterday we were talking in her interview and said, same thing, like children really need a lot of extra help with the practice, and parents don't always realize how to support their student with that, especially if they're not familiar with that instrument or whatever. So having
Yeah.
some, older to mentor them, I'm sure that's really cool for them to be able to look up to those older students, and have that support. So that's a really cool program. How then do you like to structure your lessons at the moment? What do you like to work on, or any special workbooks you like to use, or methods?
Yeah, so I currently I don't have a set curriculum, I wouldn't say, because I I find I have currently three students. They're all coming from very different places in terms of what their musical background is and what their goals are. Um, right now, yeah, like for instance, one of my students, she really wants to learn like songs that she likes to play. So we will spend, make sure the instrument's tuned, and then I give her one or two scales a week. Usually, I'm starting with D or G major because on the violin those are more accessible
Mhm.
in terms of where we start with the hand position and stuff like that. So simpler scales, only one or two octaves, and then we'll sort of work on what she practiced that week, which typically will be one of the songs that we assigned to her. And sort of go from there. I'll try to work in one technical concept so that we're making progress. And then I'll also put in the notes, maybe I'll create some sort of etude that's very short but is concentrated on sort of that new skill. And even if that's just each time before you play, you spend 5 seconds examining your bow hand, right? That can even be a helpful thing because, it's each time you look at it and try to make it how you want it, you're gaining points of data. You're gaining data on how your hand works and how to make the bow hand, and just encourages consciousness. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and private teaching is so much like that. You have such varied skills coming, especially if you have a wide range of ages and experience. So you have to really be adaptable. So I think that sounds like you're already doing that. Is there a favorite skill that you like to teach or excited to teach?
Well, I really do love working on the bow. I mean, it's so broad, right? The bowing stringed instruments is really difficult because we want to make a straight line, right? But none of our joints move in a straight line, right? So we're all these circular motions, we have to somehow create a straight motion by combining all of our joints and using our muscles correctly. And it's sort of a constant project, and it's really frustrating. And I myself, I'm never done looking in the mirror at what's going on. Is this tense? Is it, am I holding the bow above the instrument, or is the instrument resting on the bow? These are all things that are sort of constant in terms of reminding yourself and reminding your students. So I would say that I really do enjoy teaching the mechanics of the bow.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds like breathing for singers. It's like this ever elusive, skill that we're always working to perfect, and you're never really done. Especially as you grow and you have a different body too, right? And we have different things that our body can do or can't do as we age. So awesome. What are the lesson offerings that you have, like lengths and all of that?
Yeah, so I offer 30-minute lessons, 45-minute lessons, and hour-long lessons. I have, I strongly prefer to teach hour lessons. Although, financially and in terms of the time that my students are practicing, it's not always realistic. Right. If I had to choose, it would always be an hour-long lesson, and we would do it every week, right? But and I think, I'm not sure how you feel, but I think that as a teacher, that's a lot more fun because you know that you can really get deep into a certain concept and sort of spend that time, breaking a habit, reinforcing the positives, right? But yes, I offer 30-minute lessons once a week, 45-minute lessons once a week, an hour lesson, and that can either happen once a week or once every other week. Okay. I think the idea behind that is that, for instance, 30-minute lesson every other week is really not a lot of instruction. Mm-hmm. But, maybe for an adult beginner, for example, where they definitely have the attention span for an hour-long lesson, but maybe it's a bit unrealistic in terms of the practice time that might be associated with having a 1-hour lesson every week. It would make more sense for them to do a lesson every other week, and they can still feel like they're getting a lot out of that.
Yeah, okay, so you offer some bi-monthly options, so that's great. I know that you're, kind of still building your studio, but what would you say is your studio culture or desired studio culture, and any accomplishments from your students that you want to highlight?
I wouldn't say that I necessarily, my students have really done much of anything in terms of competing or um, like any accolades or whatever you might call that. Um, but what I would like the studio culture to be is ideally very constructive and sort of enjoying the process of studying the instrument and loving the instrument, treating practice as meditative, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to something that's stressful. Oh, I've got to learn this. I've got to get this under my fingers. Why doesn't my bow work? Having it be a time where we are mindfully being with the instrument and with ourselves is really what I would hope that all my students can gain.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Really process driven than results per se or competitive or anything like
Yeah,
that.
definitely not competitive.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, I think more and more, music is not just for the professionals, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that can be enjoyed lifelong. So I completely agree with you there. How would you say you balance being, a gigging musician and teaching, and a student at the moment?
I mean, this semester has been particularly stressful. I have some of the performances coming up that I have put the most weight on myself for in my whole life, basically. I mean, I'm feeling good about that process. Obviously, we'll see like next month where I'm at, but I'm trying to practice what I preach, in that when I practice, it's not stressful note learning. It's listening to myself, listening to the instrument, and teaching. I'm finding is really inspiring me to because when one of my students makes progress on a really difficult concept that maybe they've been working on for a few weeks, that reminds me that, oh yeah, maybe my bow can have more seamless connections, right? Like, I'm obviously not done growing and improving, and I think that those things work together really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and additionally with the gigging, I have a gig tomorrow. I mean, I'll be teaching until 2 and then immediately rehearsing for that at 2:30. But to me, I mean that's sort of like our life as musicians, and I don't find that to be stressful, and it's certainly not as though I were going to go wait tables, which is obviously something that we have to do, but it's a little bit less fulfilling, I think, for me personally, to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked retail a lot through grad school, and, it could be fun, but yes, it's definitely not, at least with the teaching, they're like related, and yeah, you get to have that joy. And Chris Eck also wrote, yes, by teaching we learn. So as you said,
Yeah,
it is. And
yeah,
it's inspiring too, like when they hear that they've done that and made that progress, and you can see it on their face, and it's exciting for you too. Um, that's really inspiring and inspires us then to work on our skills as well. So, all right. Well, moving to the last couple questions here. Since you already talked about you had a gig tomorrow, what are some music related projects you're currently working on, or any coming performances that you'll be participating in?
yeah. So right now, my main focus is the Bartók Viola Concerto, and that I will be performing with the University of Iowa Symphony Orchestra on April 1st. So that's rehearsals for that are going to start in about a month. So it's all in my fingers, but there's specifically with that piece, he did not finish it. Bartók did not finish it before passing away. So it was reconstructed by his student as our currently most acceptable version.
Okay.
He had to add some material, but just yesterday I was looking at the sketches that Bartók had when he passed and sort of seeing what was in there, what maybe was the most important to him in the score that we recognize in performance. And then just looking at the score that we have and trying to make sure that I've got a really good grasp of it because obviously wouldn't want to have a memory slip or anything like that. But that's my main focus. And then, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really exciting. Um, and do you have any hobbies outside of music that you like to participate in or partake in when you have in your copious amounts of free time?
Yes. Well, I am an avid ultimate frisbee player. I've played for now about 5 years. I also I like other pickup athletics or whatever. I'm gonna play archery tag, like intramural archery tag, next week as just a fun little activity where you've got the bows and you're running around and trying to hit each other with the arrows.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I've never heard of that, but that
so
sounds
yeah, I like to be active. I like to be outdoors when it's nice. And yeah, that's yeah, the main thing.
and I forgot. I was just thinking. I was like, do you have any pets or anything?
Yes, I do. I have a cat. His name is Leo. He's extraordinarily sweet. A bit clingy actually at times, but like when I leave for 8 or 9 hours,
Oh.
he's not super happy about that when I get back. But yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was like, I can't believe we haven't been asking about pets because uh, I sadly don't have any pets, but they're very special to us at the studio. So, well, anything else you want to add or share before we end the call?
No, and I believe I've got to run to a rehearsal right now.
All
So
right. Well, yeah, I've got to go pick up my daughter. So, well, thank you so much for chatting with us, and
thank you.
have you with us at the studio, and hopefully I'll see you in person sometime soon. I was.
Yes, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.